Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Syntegrator, and this is the video game Tron Evolution. And the soundtrack for this incredible video game, and it's a great soundtrack, was done by an artist known as Sonic Mayhem, but in real life his name is Sasha Desikian. And guess what? This is Sasha's Juno-106, and it's here to be turned into a Kiwi-106. And to get whatever love and affection and upgrading we can possibly do to it, not just inside of its brain with the Kiwi, but also cosmetically. So let's have a look at this guy. These keys are soiled, scratched, and stained. We have discolored. There's lots of UV aging and wear and tear. There's rust bubbling under the surface of this paint. What else? The end blocks are chipped, banged, and on this side, really heavily scraped. Let me just move my... You can't really see in the dark there, but there's lots and lots of scrapes all across. This is a very, very chewed up machine. So I've already removed the bolts, and they actually seem rusted, believe it or not. And I'm not surprised. This machine's obviously spent some time in a bit dank basement. Internally, it seems alright. There's your original CPU with a soldered-in battery, which is stock. And everything seems relatively tidy. The original voice chips still in there, resin in there. They got to come out. They got to be stripped. I'm almost certain. Well, let's see here. We're missing a fader cap here. These are very crusty and grainy and gross. This seems almost loose. I don't know how that could have been loose. It looks to me like this hasn't been ever worked on. Maybe it was opened and this was loosened, but none of the original cable ties have been cut. So that's just my detective work. I'm thinking the dust covers are all dried out and crumbly. I wouldn't be surprised if these tack switches are a little bit intermittent. So we'll have to see about that too. So lots and lots of work to do on this one. But nothing's too good for Sonic Mayhem. Alright, so now that we've got the panel PCB out of the Sonic Mayhem Juno-106, let's have a look at this metalwork. And as you can see, we've got dings, we got scratches, we've got rust spot, we have scrapes, another ding. You get the idea. Another scrape up here, the inevitable bangs along the upper corner, back panel, scrape on the Roland logo. Yeah. Well, we already discussed this, him and I. This is going to get powder coated and synth graphicked. He would like this to be one of these Jupiter style Kiwi-106s, so we're going to go with that. So what we got to do is get this front panel off, and to get the front panel off, first thing we have to do is disconnect the harnesses to these boards, and this is basically how they ride. And again, like I say, this machine appears to have never been apart before, so these connectors are a little bit stiff. And I'm holding the camera with one hand, so I can't even use two hands to do it. Okay, so that's the analog board with the chorus effect separated out. And then as I go along here, here's the MIDI. And the MIDI goes like this. There we go. MIDI is clear. And front panel. This is basically the power lead. I'm going to have to stop and get a pair of cutters. Alright, so I got that zip tie loose, and there you are. So this is clear also. So this would be ready to be removed, except that we have a couple of grounding lugs. There's one over here and one over here. And then, of course, we have the power switch. And this is one of those two-prong ones. We're going to, of course, get rid of the two-prong entry socket. Let me just get my cutters. I found that it's actually just easier to cut these loose and then deal with them with the soldering iron on the other side. Don't worry about what you actually get loose. There we are. Black and white, doesn't matter which direction. We're going to be putting in a 3-prong IEC and running a little jumper ground lead to its grounding prong when the time comes. And the power switch also comes loose. Again, if I wasn't holding a camera, it would be easier for me. Alright, so those are out of there. That's ready to go. I'll put this over here. I got a socket, a hex socket standing by to take this on. There we go. Now these are all metric. It's now so loose that I'm going to have to go around the back with a screwdriver and hold it. And likewise, this one over here is just held in place from the back. So we're going to flip this around and come right back when we got it positioned to do the back screws, and then that will take these boards out. So with the screws around the back removed, we have 2 screws here and 3 screws here to take out. And I'm just doing this with my left hand here, and I'm not going to do the whole thing this way, but taking screws out with a power driver is okay. Putting them in is not a smart idea because you can strip the metal. So I'm just going to get all these out. I don't want to lose them. I'll be right back. That's loose. This is the MIDI board. And this the analog I/O board. Like so. Okay. Alright, so now you're looking at the, oh, by the way, I pushed through and got the lens out. Actually, this one cracked just over here. It's not going to be noticeable when it's back in. Basically the bottom lip of it cracked. There's usually some glue that holds these in place. You push down and typically it's like a contact cement, but this one was a much stronger epoxy type glue, so it didn't give way quite so easily. But that plastic window can't be in there when you have it powder coated, because it basically goes in an oven to powder coat. So now we're ready to take out the screws. Now there are 2 screws underneath the PCB here, 2 screws underneath the PCB here, and then 2 screws. These ones here actually just have standoffs on them, and you can see them like this. So I got to cut some zip ties and basically take off the screws holding down the standoffs on these guys here, and then we will be in the position of taking this lid off. So as you can see, it pretty much reduces the synth down to a board, key bed, a bender block, and 2 end pieces. So, and a power supply, of course. So yeah, it really is a desktop science lab inside. And then that desktop science lab is enclosed inside this bigger chassis that makes you think it's an instrument. Cute, huh? Well, it is an instrument. It's a great instrument. But inside, it's surprising how simple it is, huh? They don't make them like this anymore. Okay, so here it is with voice board taken out, CPU board taken out, and then on the other side, if we have a look over there, you'll see that those zip ties have been cut, and in fact, the harness is pulled loose. So now I'm basically ready to start doing this. That's 1. That's 2. These are different. These are actually like bolts. Well, they're machine screws. By definition, bolts have hex heads on them, and machine screws have, screw heads on them, but these are the nicely round or threaded threads that go into T-nuts. T-nut, which is basically a threaded insert that goes inside the wooden part of the case, the base plate. So the T-nut goes inside the base plate. Yeah, there we are. And let's get over here so we can catch both of these guys in there. And I'm going to do the one on this end first. Okay, those four are loose. They're in the compartment where they belong, inside the snap case. Putting down the screwdriver, and I'm just going to lift this up now, like this. There it is, on the loose. What remains, my friends, doesn't look much like a synth anymore, does it? That's okay, we'll restore it soon enough. As you can see, the Sonic Mayhem keyboard was really filthy. It's actually now quite clean. Quite clean indeed. And the key bed here, well, it's not bad, but it does have its share of dirt. So we're going to give it that a cleaning, and we're going to reassemble the whole thing and make it all look lovely. Here are the end pieces from Sonic Mayhem's Juno 106. And as you can see, they are very bashed up. And they're a little bit broken inside as well. Some loose pieces fell out when I took them off. So, trash. Keybed. Keybed has been dismantled and cleaned and reassembled and given the old standard Syntegrator redux. And take a look here. The new end pieces are in place, and as you can see, they make a huge difference already in the caliber and the appearance of this machine. So I've taken the bender block out. Bender block got some interesting things going on with it. I took the button caps off. This portamento switch actually seems kind of totally, well, broken, for lack of a better word. I'm going to probably have to replace it altogether in order to make it good. And with the voice board and the CPU out, I gave it a good cleaning. And the inside and the power supply looks good. And that's the nice international transformer. This one could be modified from North American to European fairly easily, and Australian, so to speak, down to Australia or New Zealand even, just by changing the tap. Very cool. So where's the top? Well, as you may recall, the top was pulled off in order to be able to do powder coating on it, and that's actually done. I've got the part back, and it looks pretty spectacular. I've already put the overlay on it, and I'm going to be bringing that back in fairly soon. But let's have a look over here. Front rail. Front rail now has been removed, and as we've said before, we actually like to replace the front rail on these guys with a wooden front rail. And the wooden front rail is actually part of the Synth Skins kit that I am putting together. There we are. I spent all day at the woodworking shop preparing these. And so this is basically a blank rail. And the blank rail goes in like this. Of course, this one here doesn't have any screws mounted on it yet, so I'm going to have to hold it in place. But there we are. That is the way it goes, and it lines up like that. And the front, yeah. Well, you'll see. You'll see when it's all together. And then I got to work with my router in here to carve out the areas where the bender block is going to be. So there's a whole bunch of work yet to do. But that's where we are right now. Stay with me. We'll get this thing happening for now.